Several minutes of commercial-free football starts now.
Here are the Purple Mortgage Guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Purple Mortgage Guys. Myself, Brent. We got Goose here and Tanner. We're three guys that are in the home loan business. We love talking about the Minnesota Vikings. So, guys, we started a show this year. Didn't really know where it was going, but we've had a lot of fun with it. And we do mortgage. We do home loans, obviously, it's our day job, but we love talking about the Minnesota Vikings. So we wanted to jump on again, recap the playoff game that was the Giants game, wild card game from Sunday. Obviously did not go as expected or anticipated, but overall wanted to put a cap on a really fun season and give some final thoughts as we head into the offseason here and look ahead to the rest of the playoffs and the Super Bowl ahead. So Tanner, Goose, overall thoughts, I guess, from Sunday. Maybe give me something that we obviously lost. What was the most frustrating to each of you guys? And then we'll maybe get into a couple other things here too, real quick, to put a bow on the season. So Tanner, I think I know what you're going to say, but what was the most frustrating thing for you watching the game on Sunday?
Not getting off the field and not giving our offense enough opportunities, I think, to try and put points on the board to try and stay competitive in that game. I just think it's completely unacceptable to have home field advantage on your side. You got one of the loudest atmospheres in the NFL in US Bank Stadium, and I just think it's completely unacceptable to allow the Giants, who aren't even like a top-tier offense in the league, to just drive down the field at will throughout the entire game. You look like you completely came unprepared, which is also kind of another motion in itself of just how frustrating I think the defense is, because we just played this team a month ago. And I don't really think that they had many adjustments to make to try and stay competitive. And the defense just didn't show up. Granted, the offense didn't do what I think they were capable of this year either, but I'm just very disappointed with how our defense played on Sunday to end the season. So I think us fans deserve better than that.
It's crazy. Tanner and I, we've been to two Vikings games together in our lifetime. One was the Dallas game, and then now the New York Giants playoff game. Tanner, we've seen them together give up over 70 points. The defense is very discouraging. That place was insane. It was loud. It was rocking pretty good after we were up 7-0. And I got to give the Giants a lot of credit to go into that atmosphere and to put up that drive on the first series of the game. That was impressive. They never turned the ball over. They made sound decisions. Had a couple of good fourth down conversions that we couldn't stop them on. We made Daniel Jones look like, I don't know, the second coming of Drew Brees or Peyton Manning, which we don't think he is. But the Giants played well. And to your point, the defense just did not show up. And then we shot ourselves in the foot a few times with some of the play calling as well. So, Goose, tell me what your most frustrating thing from Sunday was.
Quick correction: Drew Brees, Peyton Manning mixed with Michael Vick
Nice.
is how we made him look. The one piece of the defense that I was defending all year is the one thing that they had was making a big play, forcing field goals, something that gave our offense a chance. And to have your worst defensive performance, not only at home, not only in the playoffs, but I'm careful with saying this without disrespecting the Giants because they played a heck of a game, but you're not going to get many opportunities in the playoffs to play a young quarterback like Daniel Jones in his first ever playoff game. I don't want to call him a bad quarterback, but certainly average. The one player on their whole entire offense that you would say is a weapon or top 5 in his position is Saquon, and almost to just prove how bad our defense is, they hardly gave him the ball. He had 9 carries and 5 catches. And outside of that, to have a receiving core of Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton and Richie James and have that offense tear you up and lay the biggest egg of the whole season. Was just super irritating, especially when I feel like our coaching staff was pretty like a little nonchalant in the press conferences all year. And then leading up to this game was like, oh, you're going to like what you see. And the veterans are running the team and just all of this hype to really make me feel like we had some sort of a plan and that we were hiding something all year. And to watch that in person, as you can tell, my voice is still gone.
That's
was
not
just
sadness,
infuriating.
guys that are listening. That's not sadness in Goose's voice. It's legitimately been gone since about 5 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. So
I felt like I was the only Vikings player / fan who left it all on the field that Sunday. So just brutal to watch.
Yeah, I don't know. The defense is the easy target. It was terrible. Griffin, who some of you have remember from one of our shows earlier, he asked me when I got home Monday morning. First thing out of his mouth was, "Dad, thought Ed said we were going to like what we saw." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I don't know what to say." It was bad.
Looking back at it, what I can't understand is how it seemed like we never stopped them. We made a couple critical mistakes on offense, but it's definitely the defense's fault. To look at the drive where Irv had the drop pass, to see the Kirk Cousins debacle throwback to Kirk, and then to still have an offensive drive at the end of the game to go tie it and potentially win it with a 2-point conversion. It was just a really weird game.
It was bizarre. Like we should have been down by 2 or 3 scores is the feeling every time we were on defense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird game.
And when you only lose by 7, you can nitpick every little thing. And that 3rd and 1 wide receiver pass to Cousins, if it works, you look like a genius. But man, that first down there could have led to a touchdown, could have led to a field goal, could have punted anyway. You never know. Irv Smith drop didn't help. Earlier on I think the second to last drive, a couple of draw plays in a row there, and just not even looking for Jefferson on some of the plays that are dialed up. And then that last one, you can blame Kirk, but really he had no time and he had really no options other than throw up a ball that at best is 50-50 in double coverage. And Jefferson's 25 yards down the field and we need 8. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think probably a learning experience for the coaching staff. Hopefully Donatell's not back. Tanner wanted to hold out doing an episode, guys, until Ed Donatell was fired, but that might be our next one. Tanner, is there any way Ed's back?
I don't see how you can bring him back. I'm actually pissed off he's not fired yet. I know that KOC and Kwesi had a press conference today, and it was reiterated that they're, kind of taking their time reevaluating the coaching staff and trying to make a good decision, or I guess like a thought through decision. But I don't know what you have to think through at this point. Like, our defense was horrible in almost every major statistical category this year. And I mean, the season it's a week by week season. You have 1 game per week. And I feel like as a coaching staff and Kwesi's job to just supervise that throughout the season, you had enough. You should have been able to see enough to make a decision to know that he was bad enough to get canned at the very next day. I kind of use the Broncos as an example with Nathaniel Hackett. He was sort of unacceptable. I think when they brought him in this year, they had a relatively talented offensive roster, and they were one of the worst offenses in the league. And I do realize that this Vikings defense did change schemes this year. I realize that we're not on a 4-3 anymore, and that kind of hindered. And we ran a 3-4, and not all of our players are going to fit that personnel right away. But I think there was still enough talent on the roster to not be at the very bottom of the league in these categories. There is still enough talent on the roster to keep you competitive every single week. And we just saw the same crap every single week. It didn't look like there were ever any adjustments. And yeah, I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked he hasn't been fired yet. I don't know if I've ever been this pissed off with an assistant coach before, at least not since John DeFilippo anyways.
Well, I think one of the thoughts I had, guys, as the third and fourth quarters were unwinding Sunday was obviously really wanted to win that game. I think kind of thought that might have been the definition of a successful year is one playoff win with this squad with the defense. But then it was also very evident to me, like if they would have won, the odds of going into San Francisco and coming, you never know what's going to happen. But man, that could have been just a throttling with this defense and the way things were going. So I guess my question for you guys then is the 2022 season for the Vikings, looking back on it, maybe now, maybe in 6 months or a year. I feel it's probably the most entertaining season since probably '09. Is it a success? And I'll let you start with that one again.
Yeah, I think it's pretty plain and simple. I don't really know how you say it can't be a success. I mean, we had a first-year head coach come in, and to win 13 games when I think a lot of people probably expected you to be fringe wild card, I think was pretty cool to see. Obviously, I do think a one playoff win would have really sealed the cap on that. But I would say that it was probably still a successful season considering the expectations that we had for this team going into the year.
Goose, what do you say about that?
Yeah, you kind of hit on it, Brent. Like it's pretty tricky. I think when we hire KOC and Kwesi, I think if you told me we go 13-4 and have the 3 seed and host a home playoff game, I don't care what happens from then. Obviously, you start to build some expectations as the team performs well and looks good. So I'm kind of in a wishy-washy phase of I'm with you. I had gotten to a point where I was like, I'm not expecting them to win the Super Bowl. I think any team can get hot and have a shot, but I felt like in order to be a complete success, no question about it, they had to win this home game against a less talented roster and an opponent on the road, or the opponent's coming to our house. So I would say that it is a little bit of a letdown of a season. So, but considering the positives, some of the big positives would be to kind of have a building block season. KOC has it in him to really coach and scheme some things up. He's going to learn from a lot of what took place to get that experience this year. And then with Zimmer, we had such a revolving door offense of coordinators and position coaches that to get a second consecutive year with JJ and Kirk in the same scheme, same offense, same coaching, I think could play huge into the future of the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree.
We're getting Tanner back in. Yes.
I think if I look at it, I think it feels like this was a 10-7 type team that overachieved in the regular season.
Yeah,
I would say underachieved in their one playoff game. I think there's a lot of things that are obvious that they need to improve on going forward. Winning a playoff game is not the goal. Getting to the NFC Championship game is not the goal. I don't think that's the goal for Kwesi or for KOC or the Vikings right now. I think they even pitched that. What's that term they've been using? Like championship mindset or something like that. I don't remember the words right now, but basically, I mean, the defense was going to let us down at some point. We kind of all knew that. They overachieved in the regular season. They won a lot of close games, which is tough to do. They got to get younger on defense. They got to probably get a new leader of their defense on the coaching staff. And then KOC's probably got to clean up when you need a yard, go get a yard or two. Don't go for some home run play. So I think that's probably the look ahead for 23. And that gets me into my last question for you guys is what major changes do you see? Not that you see happening, but what would you do if you had control? What do you want to see happen for 23? Goose, I'll start with you.
Oh, go ahead, Goose.
So I would like to think that they're going to have at least a little bit more intel of what we do. So hopefully they have a better idea with some of these veterans if some of them were playing a little nicked up and maybe can come back with a little bit more than what they were able to give next year. But I absolutely think you're going to have to make the decision on 2, 3, 4 veterans on whether or not you can move them for some late round compensation or cut them altogether. I also think you're going to have to make some decisions on some players that want big contracts like Daniil Hunter. He's going to want to get paid. He's 28, so he's kind of in that last window of I need to make my money now.
Big
and
deal. Yep.
He's an edge rusher. I think almost certainly when you have a quarterback that you're paying and you're going to have to pay Justin Jefferson and you're going to have to really bring in some guys to fill in some of these holes. I don't think you can afford to pay Daniil unless he was putting up Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett numbers. So I think I'd move Daniil, probably make some tough decisions on guys like Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, as much as that breaks my heart, probably my favorite Minnesota Viking of all time. And then probably also Dalvin Cook. Love Dalvin. I think he had maybe a better year than he's getting credit for, but not the Dalvin that we've all seen. And we're turning into a league of 4 or 5 running backs each draft coming out and being studs. And if you can get that on a rookie contract, then I think you have to take advantage of it. I think Kirk is also probably closer to the Matt Ryans and Matthew Staffords of the world than the Aaron Rodgers and the Tom Brady's. So I think once a drop off comes, it'll hit fast. So not looking to replace him next year, but I think you have to start coming up with a contingency plan or a grooming project to get that next guy ready.
Tanner, what do you think on all of that? Yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward and easy to get on board with, but what do you see happening?
Yeah, I actually don't have a lot to add to it. I feel like Goose kind of stole a lot of the words out of my mouth on what I'd like to see happen. I think the biggest thing, obviously, I'd like to get a younger defensive guru in here, because I feel like most of the successful defenses in the league right now, when you look at like the Niners and the Eagles, they're run by even like the Jets, like younger defensive minded guys that, I mean, we don't need the Mike Zimmers and the Ed Donatells anymore, guys that have been in the league for 20 to 25 years. Like, it's a different age. The league has changed so much. It's become a passing league, and you need to figure out a way to, I don't know, just be more successful against quarterbacks that can hurt you with their arm, as opposed to what it's always been with maybe like running backs hurting you instead. So I'd like to get a younger defensive-minded coach in here. Whether or not that's going to happen, I have no idea. I would say probably not, just based off some of the candidates I think we've seen to potentially replace Donatel. But I do think that there needs to be a revamp as well. There are going to be a lot of guys that have been on this team for a very long time that probably are not going to be here next year. And, Goose said his favorite player has been Harrison Smith. Mine's been Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's story is terrific. I think he's done a lot for the state of Minnesota, and I respect him so much for like what he's done since he's been a Viking, to be able to just walk on the team like that and become one of the top receivers in the league. And with a $19 million cap hit next year, we've kind of seen the writing on the wall. Even if they restructure him, he's probably still getting overpaid way what he's actually going to be on the roster next year. So good chance he's not going to be back. I do think Harrison Smith will actually be back because I still think he's pretty productive at this point in his career, and I think that they can find a way to still compensate him at a pretty reasonable salary. Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, gone. If you want to keep a 3-4 scheme, they don't fit this. They're old linebackers. They're slow. They need to be in a 4-3 scheme as a two down players, I think, at this point in their careers, as they're reaching their 30s here now. So Dalvin Cook, I wasn't really a fan of extending him in the first place. I don't think paying running backs $10+ million a year is acceptable in this league. And Goose already made the point that I think you can find production pretty easily. Maybe not necessarily to somebody like as electric as Dalvin Cook, but I think you can find a replacement to, or even maybe two backs and have like a duo set that can make up for a lot of that lost cause without Dalvin. So we're looking at our last year with Kirk Cousins and Goose had on the extensions as well with Justin Jefferson and even TJ Hawkinson coming up here as well. So I just think the team is probably going to look a lot different. I think we'd all like to see them try to run it back with this roster with just a few minor changes, but I think there is a chance that we could see, man, of the 22 starters, I could see maybe even over half of those guys gone next year. So I think it's going to be a super fun offseason, and that's an episode for another day to kind of discuss what we think should and shouldn't happen. But that's kind of just like a broad view of kind of what I see happening here in the offseason.
Yeah, you actually took the words out of my mouth on Harrison Smith, Tanner. I think when the talker had been like Delvin, Adam Thielen, Kendricks, and Harrison Smith. Pick two because you can't keep all four. And I think they get rid of all three of those four: Cook, Thielen, Kendricks. Find a way to re-sign Harrison Smith, more or less, because I feel like he's the leader out there. Things went really sideways in Detroit that game he didn't play. And of all four, I think that's the one I would pick to keep. I'd get rid of Hicks. I think we saw a new era with the Vikings this year, where it wasn't the Zimmer feel. It was a kind of a fun new offense, at least the first half of the year. I think now it's time to do that same thing with the defense, turn that over and get a fresh look, hopefully with a younger defensive coordinator like Tanner mentioned, and just seeing what we can do. So I think the offense, I would like to run that back to an extent, maybe get rid of Delvin. Yeah. Adam's probably gone, but you can replace those guys like Tanner mentioned also and use those resources on the defensive side of the ball. Probably extend JJ. You're feeling pretty good about that. And then guys, Cousins had a great game on Sunday. One final play gets scrutinized, but he won us so many games this last year. Mm-hmm. And I'd be fine with him being the quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years on the downside of his career, but probably drafting a guy every draft, throw one out there. I mean, we drafted guys like Moritz Boehringer in years past.
Yeah.
Why not throw one in on a QB in the late round? Brock Purdy is a perfect example. He's a system guy, I know, but he's getting it done in San Francisco. They don't have to be first rounders all the time. They can still hit. So yeah. That's what I hope happens. I hope we get younger on defense and we can start looking for that quarterback to take over for Kirk in the next couple of years. So guys, any closing thoughts on the Giants game? Anything else Ed Donatel related? Otherwise, hopefully we'll be back when we're talking a new defensive coordinator here in the next week or so.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything left for the Giants game, but kind of the look ahead. As much as I wanted to be talking a few more playoff games and current Vikings football, I am excited to talk about free agency, draft. I think the coaching one is going to be huge. So it's going to be an exciting thing to watch on who I still think the Vikings are going to be a really intriguing team to join for a coach. So to find that guy, one thing Tanner kind of mentioned all season that he was frustrated with, Ed, was playing to the player's strengths. And I really just want to see, I think some of those old school coaches like Zimmer, like he had his vision of a cornerback and a linebacker and like that was it. There's no, because I was pretty excited about Jaron Kearse when we picked, because I think we got him really late in the draft, and I was like, a 6'4" safety who can move pretty well. He can play in the box a little bit, and to see the way that the Cowboys have used him as like a jack of all trades, like I just want someone who can look at a roster and not go like, I don't have the right players for my scheme. Like, analyze your roster, find out what everyone's good at, and then draw up your scheme and be creative and be flexible. And so I think as we're looking at candidates, that'll be one thing. We can kind of look at their background, see what they've done, and get excited about that as well. So as much as I hate to say I am starting to get excited now for off-season football. It's what we've been used to for a few years now, and I'm getting back in that mindset.
Tanner, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of moves made here between now and the draft. I read a stat today. I think it said we had one pick in the top 80, the first 80 picks or something like that, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't see that staying, I guess. I do think we have some trade candidates on the team, and I think Danielle Hunter is going to be a big one. Because Goose had already mentioned, he's not going to go into this upcoming year saying you guys are paying me $13 million. Like, he's not going to show up to camp. He's not going to do that. We can almost guarantee he's going to want top dollar money. But whether or not the team envisions that he's actually that type of player, which I didn't feel like he was this year, is going to be up to them to make that decision. And if they don't agree, I think you could see some hefty compensation for him, and then maybe just keep Za'Darius and find like a rotational player. So that on top of free agency, a lot of fans are pretty concerned about our cap situation right now. I think we're like $9 million over the cap or something like that. And they can get under that quickly. So don't be concerned about that. A couple moves. I think I read the other day, you can save $14.5 million just by cutting Hicks and Kendricks. Kendricks has been an awesome player for us for a long time, but it's reality. These linebackers are old and we need to move on. So just a couple moves or structures, get under the cap, find some serviceable players, and I think we can stay competitive in the North again next year.
Yep, it's going to look a lot different next year, guys. It'll be fun to see it all unfold. So we'll check back in after maybe this coming weekend's games. Talk a little NFL playoffs. Now that the Vikings are out, we can pick another team, maybe on the AFC side, to pull for, and we'll stay in touch with that, and hopefully some moves here with some of the staff as well. So, guys, we got time to do some home loans. So if anyone out there wants us to help us out with that, help you out with that, we'd love to do that. Hit us up. Otherwise, we'll come back to you again here soon with some more Vikings related content and playoff football. So have a great week, everybody.